Louisiana. September 1944. The train carrying 19 German women prisoners slowed as it approached Camp Ruston, brakes shrieking against iron rails. Through barred windows clouded with dust and fingerprints, Erica Schneider pressed her face against the glass, heart hammering. She had been told stories, propaganda lessons about American degeneracy, about a soft nation corrupted by luxury, weakened by racial mixing, incapable of real strength. Then the guards appeared on the platform, 6 feet tall, shoulders broad as barn doors, moving with the easy confidence of men who had never known hunger, never doubted their strength, never questioned their place in the world. Erica whispered to the woman beside her, barely breathing the words. "They're bigger than we expected." Before we continue with Erica's story, if you're finding value in these deep dives into World War II's most revealing moments, please hit that like button and subscribe to stay connected with history that matters. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from, whether you're in Berlin or Boston, Tokyo or Toronto. We love hearing from our global community of history enthusiasts. Your support helps us keep bringing these untold stories to light. That simple observation, those 5 words spoken in shock and disbelief, would crack open everything. Erica Schneider thought she knew about the war, about her enemies, about the lies she'd been fed since childhood. Because in that moment, standing on a Louisiana train platform in the fading summer heat, she realized something that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Germany had never stood a chance. Not against this. Not against men who looked like they could break her in half without effort, who stood guard over a nation so abundant it could feed its enemies better than Germany fed its own soldiers. The propaganda had been catastrophically, fundamentally wrong. And if it was wrong about this, what else had been a lie? The Atlantic crossing had taken 3 weeks. From Casablanca to Norfolk, Virginia, aboard a converted troop transport that pitched and rolled through autumn storms. Erica and the other 18 women, all Luftwaffe auxiliaries, captured when Allied forces overran communication stations across North Africa, spent most of the voyage in a converted storage hold below deck. Sick, frightened, certain they were sailing toward punishment or worse. They had been raised on images of Americans as racially inferior, physically weak, morally corrupt. Cartoons showing small, cowardly soldiers dependent on machinery because they lacked German discipline and strength. Stories of American brutality toward prisoners, beatings, starvation, humiliation designed to break the spirit. Erica had believed most of it. She was 24, educated in a system that had controlled information since she was 12. Her father had been a school teacher before the war, loyal to the regime, teaching his daughter that Germany represented civilization's peak, that enemies were inferior by definition, by blood, by destiny. She had no reason to question these truths. Everyone she knew accepted them. Everyone she trusted taught them. The idea that it might all be propaganda, deliberate lies, had never seriously crossed her mind. When the ship docked at Norfolk, the women were transferred to a processing facility. Concrete buildings, chain-link fences, guards with rifles who spoke no German. They were photographed, fingerprinted, examined by military physicians who were professional but distant. The process took 2 days, clinical, efficient, almost boring in its bureaucratic thoroughness. Then they were loaded onto a train heading west into the American heartland. The journey across America left them silent, They had expected wartime ruined blackouts, shortages, bombed towns. Instead, nights glowed with city lights. Farms overflowed with cattle and crops. Children played in streets without fear. The abundance felt impossible, like a staged lie. "It can't be real," Greta Hoffman murmured. But the train rolled on for days through Virginia, Tennessee, Arkansas past untouched towns and well-fed people who acted as if the war were a distant rumor. Erica pressed her forehead to the window, unsettled. If Americans were weak, how had they built this? On September 15th, the train slowed at Camp Ruston. Through dusty windows they saw guard towers, barbed wire, rows of wooden barracks, exactly what they expected of a POW camp. But the guards were not. 6 American soldiers stood waiting, tall, broad, healthy, confident. Nothing like the gaunt German troops the women had last seen. "Jesus," Greta whispered. Anna Koch began to cry. "They're going to hurt us. Look at them." A red-haired sergeant stepped forward and spoke in steady German. "Exit in single file. Bring your belongings. Follow instructions. No threat, no shouting. Just calm authority." Erica stepped onto the platform, suddenly aware of her size beside him. "Name?" "Schneider. Erica Schneider." He noted her assignment. "Barracks 4. Follow Corporal Henderson." Henderson, a dark-haired giant, guided a small group across the compound. The Americans moved with effortless confidence, as if war had barely touched them. Every German soldier Erica remembered looked exhausted. These men looked rested, fed, untroubled. "How?" Greta whispered. Erica understood. Their propaganda had been wrong fatally. Barracks 4 held 20 bunks, thin but clean mattresses, a stove, and a small bathroom. Henderson pointed out beds, sinks, lights-out hours. His German was clumsy, but his gestures clear. Then he simply stood at the door, waiting, no leering, no threats, just a man doing his job. Erica chose a bunk near a window. She watched him quietly. He was young, strong, relaxed, nothing like what they'd been warned about. After 30 minutes, he said, "Dinner in 1 hour. Formation outside. Someone will escort you," and walked out. No lock clicked behind him. The women sat in stunned silence. Greta finally rose, opened the door, and peered outside. "Guard, 10 meters. Not watching us." "Test it," Liesel Brown said. Greta stepped onto the porch. The American guard glanced at her, nothing more. She returned, shaken. "False security," Liesel muttered. But Erica sensed otherwise. The guards looked bored, professional men who had already won and no longer needed to intimidate anyone. Their confidence came from full stomachs, clean uniforms, effortless authority. At 1800 hours, they were marched to the mess hall by an older, equally imposing guard. No threats, just efficiency. Inside, American soldiers ate at half the tables. 200 male German prisoners at the other. The women were seated near the kitchen. Erica took a tray and moved through the line. Mashed potatoes, gravy, roast beef, green beans, bread, butter, coffee, an apple. She stared, overwhelmed. She hadn't seen a meal like this since before the war, before rationing, before watery soup and crusts of black bread. At the table, the women stared at their trays. Greta took a bite, tears falling. "It's real." Erica tasted each item slowly, fighting emotion. Everything was rich, fresh, impossibly plentiful. Across the room, German men ate in the same dazed silence. One held his bread like a relic. American soldiers chatted nearby, unaware of the shock their abundance created. "How did we lose to these people?" Anna whispered. The answer was obvious. Limitless resources. 3 days passed. Routine set in roll call, meals, work. Erica was assigned to the administration building under Sergeant Marcus Riley, the red-haired giant from the train. 32, fluent in 3 languages, precise and immune to manipulation, he enforced the Geneva Convention with methodical calm. "You'll organize personnel files," he said, demonstrating once before leaving her to work. Reading hundreds of files, Erica saw the same theme. German soldiers stunned by American food, comfort, and resources defeated not just by force, but by abundance. Again and again, the same theme. German prisoners realizing their beliefs about American weakness were propaganda. America was strong in ways they'd never imagined. One afternoon, Riley ate at his desk while Erica filed documents. She watched the ease in his movements, the quiet confidence. He noticed. "You have questions," he said. She hesitated, then asked, "How are you all so healthy? You're at war. Shouldn't you be starving?" "America produces more food than we can eat," Riley said. "Even at war we have surplus. Your government lied because they needed you to feel superior. If you'd known the truth, you might have doubted victory." Something inside Erica cracked. "We never had a chance, did we?" "No," he said gently. "But that doesn't make you less human." Months passed. The women settled into routine work, meals, sleep, censored letters. In early December, Erica finally received a 4-month-old letter from her mother. Hamburg bombed, their home gone, her parents starving. Erica read it 3 times, then hid it away, crushed by guilt. She was warm, fed, safe. They were not. That night, standing outside under sharp winter stars, she told Riley, "My parents are starving. My city is ruins. And I'm here eating roast beef. How is that fair?" "It's not," Riley said. "War punishes people who never chose it. But we treat you well because someone has to break the cycle. You didn't kill my brother at Normandy. Your military did. Should I starve you for that?" Erica had no answer. December brought small mercies. The camp chaplain organized Christmas services and arranged Red Cross packages. On the 20th, each prisoner received chocolate, soap, writing paper, and a small German book, tiny comforts in a world that had fallen apart. For the women, the books were poetry collections. Goethe, Rilke, Heine. Erica held her Rilke volume carefully, running fingers over the cover. She hadn't held a book in nearly a year. The simple act of ownership, of being given something beyond bare necessities, felt disorienting. "Why?" Greta asked aloud, speaking the question they all felt. "Why give us these things?" No one had an answer. Christmas Eve brought another surprise. The mess hall was decorated with paper chains and a small pine tree someone had cut from the forest. Dinner was special: turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, cranberry sauce, pie. After the meal, the chaplain led a service. Hymns sung in German. Prayers offered in multiple languages. A sermon about hope and redemption and the possibility of peace. American soldiers attended alongside German prisoners. The guards stood at attention, rifles at rest, faces neutral. When the chaplain asked them to sing Silent Night in German, 300 voices rose in uncertain harmony. Still not, Heilig Nacht. Erica sang with tears streaming down her face. Across the room, Sergeant Riley stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his expression unreadable. After the service, Riley approached her as prisoners filed out of the mess hall. "My mother loves that hymn," he said quietly. "She always cries when she sings it. Says it reminds her that even in darkness there's light." "Does she know you're here?" Erica asked. "Taking care of enemy prisoners? She knows I'm doing my duty. That's enough for her." "And what is your duty, Sergeant? Just following orders?" Riley looked at her steadily. "My duty is to remember that you are human beings, that you have mothers who love you and homes you want to return to, that treating you decently isn't weakness. It's strength. It's choosing to be better than the worst things we've seen." He walked away before she could respond, leaving her standing in the cold with the echo of hymns in her ears and the weight of his words pressing on her chest. January 1945 brought news of German collapse, the failed Ardennes offensive, the Soviet advance across Poland, cities falling one after another. In the camp, prisoners listened to radio broadcasts with growing despair, understanding that defeat was no longer a possibility but an inevitability. Erica worked through it all, filing documents, organizing records, trying not to think too hard about what each file represented. Another German soldier captured, another life disrupted, another family waiting for word that might never come. Late January, Riley called Erica into his office. Paperwork covered his desk. He looked exhausted. "Sit, Schneider," she obeyed, tense. "I reviewed your file," he said. "Radio operator, low-level classification. No evidence of combat involvement or other activities." She knew what he meant, the camps, the atrocities now filling American newspapers. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear." "I believe you," Riley said. "Most didn't know, or didn't want to. Difference is smaller than you think," he continued. "When repatriation begins, you'll be cleared. Low threat. No crimes. You'll go home." The word felt empty. To rubble? Starving parents? Occupied Germany? Yes, that's rebuilding. It's work, not glory. "I don't want to leave," she admitted. "Here I'm safe, fed, useful. I don't have to see what Germany became." Riley's expression hardened. "You don't get to hide here. You were part of what Germany was. Now be part of what it becomes." "But I'm one person. Everyone is. You choose decency." That's how countries change. Spring brought warmth and Germany's collapse. Berlin surrounded, leaders falling, surrender imminent. In Camp Rustin, dread and relief mixed. Erica knew every guard's name, every routine, spoke English fluently. America frightened her now for feeling familiar. One April evening under the live oak, Riley brought 2 coffees. "War's almost over," he said. "Yes, you'll go home soon. Yes." After a long silence, she asked, "Did you hate us? Think we're the enemy?" "No," he said. "I saw scared women far from home who probably didn't want this any more than I did. But we enabled it," she insisted. "So did millions who obeyed or stayed quiet," he said. "Ordinary guilt is the hardest. How do I live with that? You face it, do better. Build something that prevents it from happening again." He rose. "When you go home, remember this place. Your enemies fed you, treated you decently, sent you back to rebuild. Strength isn't cruelty." May 8th, Germany surrendered. American guards celebrated quietly. Prisoners mourned. Erica thought of American abundance, confidence, and the propaganda that had lied about them. Germany hadn't lost because it was inferior, but because it built its future on hatred, not resources. That night, Riley stopped by the office. "You okay?" "I don't know. I'm relieved it's over. Does that make me a traitor?" "Makes you human." He said she'd go home in a few months. As he turned to leave, she asked, "Did this war change you?" "I learned enemies are just people, and strength without compassion is brutality." He left her alone with the records of her country's defeat and the unsettling mercy of those who won. July 1945, repatriation orders came through. The women of Barracks 4 were scheduled for transport to New York, then by ship to Bremerhaven, then dispersal to their home regions under occupation authority supervision. Erica packed her few possessions, the Rilke book, letters from her mother, photographs she'd been given as gifts by American guards who decided she was worth remembering. Everything fit in a small canvas bag. The night before departure, the women gathered in the barracks for a final evening. Some talked about what they'd find at home. Others made plans to stay in touch. Though everyone knew those plans would probably fail, Greta cried. Anna was silent. Liesel maintained her bitter edge to the end, refusing to soften even now. Erica walked outside into humid Louisiana night and found Sergeant Riley standing near the barracks, smoking a cigarette. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "No." He offered her the cigarette. She took it, dragged smoke into her lungs even though she'd never smoked before. "I want to thank you," she said, "for treating us like people, for being," she struggled for the word, "bigger than you needed to be." Riley smiled at the phrasing. "We're all bigger than we need to be. That's the point. We choose how to use that size, cruelty or kindness, oppression or mercy. You chose mercy. We just chose to be decent people," Riley said. "That's not mercy. That's being human." They stood in the humid silence, cicadas buzzing. "What will you remember about us?" Erica asked. "That you were brave," Riley said. "That you survived the collapse of everything you believed and didn't break." "And what should I remember about you?" "That we were just soldiers trying to act honorably. That treating prisoners well wasn't weakness, but strength. And that we were bigger than you expected." Erica laughed. "Yes, definitely bigger." At dawn, the women gathered with their bags. Guards formed a calm perimeter. Riley stood by the truck, shaking each woman's hand. When Erica reached him, he held hers briefly. "Good luck, Schneider. Rebuild well. Thank you for everything." As the truck rolled away, Camp Rustin faded into the trees. Greta cried beside her. "I don't want to see what Germany has become." "Neither do I," Erica said. "But we face it. We fix it. We make sure it never happens again." Louisiana blurred past green, wealthy, untouched by war. Erica thought of propaganda that painted Americans as weak, then of guards like Riley strong in ways the regime had never understood. She carried the lesson. Strength without compassion is brutality, and victory means nothing if it makes you a monster. In August 1945, she returned to shattered Hamburg ruins, hunger, parents aged into ghosts. She rebuilt, clearing rubble, salvaging materials, confronting guilt and complicity. She married in 1948, 3 children. They taught them the war not as glory, but as warning. In 1965, Riley's letter arrived. He hoped they had rebuilt their lives and carried home the truth that enemies can still be decent. They wrote for decades holiday notes, family photos, a quiet bridge across the past. In 1988, Erica visited America. She met Riley in Nebraska. On his porch, they spoke of Rustin, the war, and the strange grace of survival. "You were bigger than we expected," she told him. "And you were stronger than you knew," he replied. Erica died in 2003. Among her things, the Rilke book, Riley's letters, and a photograph inscribed by former guards proof that mercy is stronger than hatred. They were bigger than expected. And that made all the difference.